I'm Linda Beaver, the Special Diets Manager for AJ2019. This presentation is specifically designed to provide extra information to support special diets management within the troop lines at Jamboree. So what really do we mean by a special diet? Everybody is provided with the standard menu foods. Particular people may not be able to cope with some of those food elements. Now, it might be because they have to follow a gluten-free regime. It may be that people are vegetarian or vegan or kosher or eat halal foods. It may also mean that people can't have traces of nuts. They may not be able to have particular preservatives or food colorings, or require a FODMAP eating plan. All those things are accommodated under the umbrella term of special diets. That's what we do. That's why we're working through this program. And that's why special foods or substitutions or extra foods of a particular type will be provided to accommodate those dietary needs at Jamboree. In 2016, we had over 1,000 special menus that needed to be provided, containing up to 30 individual food substitutions, many of which were breads and dairy products, but all of which were managed quite effectively. Some people have particular issues that require multiple components of adaptation within their diet. For example, it could be somebody who has a gluten-free requirement but can't have sesame seeds or a particular food colouring, and may need to have a substitution for a milk to make their experience much better and healthier. So how do we do it? What do we do? And why do we place so much emphasis on special diets and the management of those foods at Jamboree? The way in which we achieve this is by having people who are dedicated to this role of management. The application process gives us the information we require. We provide some training and support, and most importantly, ensure that the right foods are available. Yes, I'm the Special Diets Manager, and I have the great privilege of working with dedicated special diet coordinators for each contingent. And that has been a great bonus for this Jamboree. Working with people within the contingent lines means that we have a much closer connection with members from each branch, and it enables us to identify particular needs and management strategies more easily. The application process gives us the information we require through notations in the allergy section, which will identify particular food allergies, as well as requests through the special diet needs and menu planning that is identified through the application process. Sometimes people will note a food allergy but won't document that as well in the dietary plan requirements. So we use information from both sections to make sure every dietary issue or allergy is being addressed. Training and support occurs at a number of different levels. Most importantly, we have a team of contingent welfare leaders who are working in this field, and I'm working with them so that we can make sure that all the management strategies are in place. We are also providing some resource materials, such as this particular presentation, to enable troop leaders, quartermasters, and the patrol leaders the opportunity to get a really detailed insight into what they can do to make sure special diets works effectively in their troop. The final area of support is a very detailed catering handbook, which has been developed by the quartermaster team with some input about special diets management. This document provides a lot of information that will help all troop leaders and quartermasters identify what they need to do, what they need to bring, and some great support information about the menus and food safety, food handling, and extra things that you might need to consider by way of packing and preparation for Jamboree. Obviously, the food supply is important. So through these resources and support from our contingent coordinators, the individual needs of people within a particular troop are being identified, and we are looking at the ways in which their food and menu needs can be accommodated in the easiest and most effective way. So when the patrol leaders and their patrol members go to the food distribution centre to collect the food that they will require for the next 24 hours, they will have a shopping list for their standard menu items, but they will also have information about the sort of special diet foods they need to collect as well. Apart from the day-to-day collection of special diet foods through the food distribution centre, when troops arrive on site, those that have people in their troop with special dietary needs may be provided with a box or a pack of snacks or cereals and breads and biscuits and items that will be available for people with those special dietary needs. This is particularly relevant to those with a gluten-free requirement, vegan menu people, those with preservative issues, or those who require no traces of nuts. All those people have to have appropriate cereals and breads. They also need to have snacks and cakes and items for supper. So rather than trying to provide individual foods for those people, they will have the opportunity to access lots of varied snacks and biscuits and bits and pieces through the provision of these packets or boxes on arrival. This is an example of a gluten-free snack box that was supplied. Lots of different elements are available, and it means that the person or people within a troop who need gluten-free foods can access their snacks and biscuits through this without having to wait for the individual gluten-free lamington, for example, to be provided. That's just impractical. So this worked very well at the last Jamboree, and we will build on this facility for this Jamboree as well. You don't always consider the impact of special diets on something as simple as a menu. Look at breakfast, for example. Bacon and eggs, not a problem. Some toast, cereal, milk, juice. The implications of that very simple breakfast menu crosses many special dietary domains. The gluten-free, dairy, vegetarian, vegan, preservative-free people, those with kosher or halal menus, those people that have issues with traces of particular items in their food, or those that can't have food colorings, or those that require the FODMAP plan, etc., etc. So we need to be very aware of how we provide the right foods for the right people against each of the standard menu options for each day. So why do we bother doing it? Well, everybody that attends Jamboree has the right to have the right food, the best food available for their needs. That to me is just a given. What we want to make sure is that children, particularly who have special dietary needs, have the right foods to avoid behaviour issues, a feeling of lethargy. We avoid children feeling unwell. We want to avoid kids getting the squirty diarrhea at 3 o'clock in the morning. The flow-on effect is horrendous and impacts right across the troop. So let's just make it simple and provide the right foods and ensure that everybody can function as easily and as happily as possible. It's not a difficulty for us to provide the foods, and it shouldn't be a difficulty for the troop to manage the preparation of those foods either. That's why we do it. To summarise, we've got to provide the right food to the right person in the right troop on the right day. Sounds really simple, and it is quite simple. We've got some really strategic plans in place to make sure this happens. But from the troop line, we also want to make sure that you're confident to manage the preparation of the food. And that leads me on to the next section. Being prepared. Making sure that you've got sufficient utensils, platters, cooking equipment to manage the needs of your special diet requirements within your troop. Having enough utensils, that means that you can cook and, well, prepare, cook and serve food without risking cross-contamination is really important. So that might mean you need to plan and map out how many sets of tongs, how many serving spoons, how many egg flips you will require, how many chopping knives you will require. And also make sure you remember to bring can openers and at least one ice cream scoop, because those are the silly, simple things that sometimes we forget to include. Having enough bowls, platters, ways that food that is being prepared can be stored, food that is being served can be served without the risk of cross-contamination, and also make sure that the appropriate number of extra bits and pieces are included. I say extra bits and pieces. Think about mess kit components. Plates, plastic bowls, plastic mugs, cutlery can get broken or lost. Pack some extra items just in case that happens during Jamboree. Having enough cooking utensils, really important. So maybe some extra fry pans, some extra saucepans. For example, in a menu where you are serving spaghetti and hash browns for breakfast, if you've got someone in your troop who is gluten-free and you have someone who is following a vegan diet or menu plan, you will need to have 3 saucepans for the spaghetti. Why? Because the person who needs the vegan specific spaghetti will have to have it heated up in one utensil or one saucepan. The gluten-free spaghetti is different again, and that will need to be heated up and prepared separately. And then, of course, you've got the troop distribution of spaghetti. So these are the sorts of things that you need to think about. Extra chopping boards, colanders. You may need to have extra strainers if you have people that are gluten-free, because their spaghetti, their pasta will need to be strained differently to those who have the standard spaghetti and pasta, so as to avoid cross-contamination. They're simple things, but we don't always think about the number of extra bits and pieces that will be required. So please consider that in your planning prior to packing. Practice the standard menus. In your pre-jamboree camps or shakedown camps, if you use the menus that are being used for jamboree, it means that you've then got the opportunity to practice the preparation of those foods and to figure out what you're going to need for your special dietary requirements at jamboree. In the catering handbook, the standard menu is documented. Additional to each day's standard menu, there will be a presentation of ways in which 3 standard variations for special diets can be considered. This is an example for the menu on the previous slide. Once again, this is the spaghetti and the hash browns for breakfast. So the vegan menu would include vegan-specific spaghetti. The gluten-free menu would include gluten-free spaghetti. You'll note in this that, at times it records standard menus. So the vegetarian, for example, can have that breakfast and their snacks will not be impacted upon. But for dinner that night, instead of having a chicken schnitzel and vegetables, the vegetarian option could be use some eggs, make a frittata, a vegetarian frittata or a vegetarian omelette. For somebody who's following a vegan menu plan, they could just have vegetables, barbecued, but cooked in a way that removes them from the general cooking area of the schnitzels. Gluten-free schnitzels will be provided to make sure that there is no risk of contamination for the people who have a gluten-free diet. Ice cream, for example, will be gluten-free, but for the vegans, we will provide a sorbet or an alternative that enables them to still have a dessert which is appropriate to their dietary needs. So this demonstrates some alternatives for the very basic menu options, but for those with very specific needs with preservatives or no traces of nuts, etc., individual items will be mapped out and provided for the troop. The duty patrol plays a really important part. They're the ones that have got to go and collect the food. They have to make sure that they have the right food, not only from the standard menu viewpoint, but for all the special dietary needs. They also have to prepare the food. So your duty patrol and the patrol leaders really do need to practice some of this to make sure they understand the way in which food will have to be prepared, cooked and served. It's a great opportunity to use your pre-jamboree camp or your shakedown camp as a time to get that system in place. And it also enables the PLs to really think about what they're going to have to do. Certainly the quartermaster and the troop leader will be there to support them, but it's a great learning experience. So think about how this is going to be handled. And once again, putting the planning and preparation in place to make sure everything is available in your troop lines at Jamboree will make this work so much more effectively. Collecting the food needs to be done in the right way. So you need to have a good solid trolley of some sort, because there's a lot of food to be collected each day for your troop. Your duty patrol will go to the food distribution centre that is allocated to their particular subcamp. They will collect the food, they'll have the menu shopping list, they'll have the requirements for special dietary foods that need to be taken back to the troop. Most importantly, they need to have something that they can use to transport the refrigerated foods. It's going to be hot at Jamboree. So please make sure that in your planning and preparation for Jamboree, you have sufficient cold storage. Lots of eskies designated for particular food types, and certainly something that can be taken to the food distribution centre for the collection of the refrigerated foods. We don't always recommend the double-decker approach, but it was a bit of fun in this instance. Once again, you need to make sure you've got a fairly sturdy cart to contain all those foods, because it will be important to make sure they don't drop off the top of the trolley and they can be transported effectively by your duty patrol. This is something that could slip under the radar, but your contingent and troop management will require attention to special diet needs for people getting to and from Jamboree. The Jamboree Organising Committee provides food while you're on site, and for any activities that take you off site during Jamboree, but for transport to and from Jamboree, please make sure you're aware of what the dietary needs will be for your troop members, because that's going to have to be provided separately. Jamboree can be great fun. We all want you to make sure that it's as easily managed as far as your special dietary needs are concerned in your troop. We want to make sure that the right foods are available for the right people in the right troop on the right day. We need to work together. Your contingent special diet leaders are there to support you. The national team is there to support you. We want it to work well, but we need you to help us. So if you have any problems or queries or concerns, please let us know. First port of call would be through your contingent special diet coordinator. I will then work with them and we'll make sure that dietary needs are being addressed. Enjoy the experience. If you have any concerns, please contact us. I look forward to meeting you all at Jamboree.